wanted, but I wanted, so I did. You are the one I wanted, what I wanted, so I did.
Cincinnati peep, feeling alright. I'm a Cincinnati peep, feeling alright. I'm a Cincinnati.
I know a kid that can stand on the words of the right. That's the only acceptance I've ever found.
There was an enthusiasm in production.
Flaming exclamations, references of heavy narcotics, static syndrome. Where does the character hide? Buried in the hives of the sweet Nazis. Under all our acceptable commentary, freely stated. Once mentioned, or is taken away. Video black boxes inked over. Does anyone see my face in this mask? I'm the one dreaming with my eyes. I will never Chris Ballas, fucked up hunt of industrial collapse. 49 dead in a plane crash. Master and tragedy. I had a dream of that birth. Stillborn, collared, kept behind glass. Needles that my eyes reach home. Where are we headed? Driven to destruction. Red asphalt. Mechanized death. Dark forgetting door. All mouths open. Rainbow plethora. Anti-anxiety publicity. What life do you work up? Alcohol, migraine, play the role of submission. A fool in the arms of the night market. Installed in my room. Bones down. Bodies on bodies. Words on words. My body, power. Silver blood falls over her mouth filled with mercury. One brain full of 1,000 parasites in the ventriloquist head. His body, this world is taxidermy. Glass eyes, level landscapes. I'm standing in the basement, buried in a heap of wet, sopping garbage, rotten vegetables and alcoholic slime. Like death wish, remember the buzzing. Like distant radio frequencies peering through the brick wall. I will die in streaming life, death outside. Massive sex discharge, massive bone loss, massive pain gain. Die in the moment for.
Consider the pain of your enemy.
I don't know how to talk to a young punk like you.
A true-to-life hallucination, fitting mask, mirrors that bear no reflection, blank eyeballs staring into a watery abyss, left to continue their work on conventional laughter. The puppets move forward with an automated motion. They make a god of nonsense. They make a delicacy of state venom. They poison all food and label it safe. If the hill is stacked too high, most men will refuse to climb it, assuming defensive strategy always. Strap arms and buses, find the nearest senator. Death wish for the killers of the soul. There's a special place in hell for you. There's a special place in hell for you.
Answers? Don't you want to just give me the answers?
I kick rhymes just for fun.
Midwest US
It's where I'm from, the place I dwell. Where girls like us become so pretty. What a pity, your committee can't hold a candle to my city, my city, my city. We're so pretty, ass in cities, the home of
advise you to turn it up and get terminated.
I call it punk. Way too hard to Cincinnati, and we're gonna play yes!
What do you guys want to listen to in between bands? Gabber? Hold on. No, there's another choice. Heavy hardcore.
Suicide, punk rock, suicide, punk rock, suicide.
Change the law.
I call it punk, gabber, rave 2, hardcore in Cincinnati, and we're gonna bring
Bankman. Yes.
Never stop. see that show, boy? It's gonna be awesome. there's no cut this raw enough.
Just want you to think about it. Sometimes punk doesn't mean the same thing for everybody. And for me, it's about extremities, presenting solutions.
What'd you say? Put your money where your mouth is, Louis.
I said, for me, punk is just extremities to find solutions for the questions that it poses. Punk ain't about free expression. I don't know what it's supposed to be about. You know the beat. So what? Good job. That's what I want to be. That's who I want to be? Yeah. That's who I want to be. Punk fucking rock is not about free expression. It's not something. Oh, it's not about free expression. What else is supposed to be about? Retro fashion. Not retro fashion.
So fast and die so young.
Death affirmation, high energy. Death affirmation, high energy.
Rose was swallowed.
Looks like we're doing all right here. All right, Swill, let's do this shit. REALICIDE crew coming up, and we're gonna do the hourly call, and then we're gonna have Mavis Concave piece live on Art Damage. You are listening to WAIF Cincinnati.
There was an enthusiasm for taking back the means of production.
definitely wouldn't call it punk.
Die 5 times before hit the ground. Die 5 times before hit the ground. Die 5 times before hit the ground. When I'm sputtering out my well-kept blood.
Load the gun, suck out the shell.
your life is gone.
Had another blackout this morning. Woke up on the bathroom floor because I didn't puke. Trying someone to turn to, but it's too late now. Starting to get overcrowded. I'm going to have to find somewhere else.
What he's lost is just a shell. It's just the shell of skin, and even the shell of like a human voice, or the veil of a body that enables you to even play drums or say anything to anybody. It's still just a human body.
It's not the type of energy that's gonna die with any person that just leaves their shell behind in this world. Because that's not the kind of thing that can get snuffed out by this material world. That'll try to like crush your body and spill all your blood out. It's not the kind of thing that can get killed like a body can get killed. Because it's something that transcends, something that is like meager as like a human body. It's more important than that.
What you smile? Can't even feel it! Let it go!
punk rock.
Suicide.
Cincinnati, Ohio. This is REALICIDE. Brain to your motherfucking stress. Suicide brain damage.
Propaganda is outdated, and now it's face-to-face, red, green, blue pixels. Your art is money, and your form of expression is your fucking gimmick. Psychobabble am I? It's all landmarks in Batman Village. a way of life to live ignorantly and unaware. Who cares? Not you. Not you. At least you're not supposed to care. There's nothing to live again. There's nothing to live again.
from the blood on your shirt, from the message you assert, the skin and the dirt, life lessons hurt, but punk ain't comfort, no 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 punk.
Who wants to describe the music?
I want to describe the music.
Okay. All right. Does SWILL want to be in this too?
Hell yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, why don't you say your name, your band? Do that first of all.
My name is Robert, and the group.
Actually, you're not as loud.
Yeah, I kind of can be.
Speak up, Robert.
I kind of talk quiet sometimes.
No, it's cool. I can adjust the mic level.
Did you take speech class in high school or something?
Oh yeah.
Right.
Just like I took typing class, and I can still I type with one finger. My name's Robert, and the group that I perform with regularly is REALICIDE, based here in Cincinnati. Although at this point we try to get out and travel fairly frequently, tour around 4 times a year, just to see what else is out there and see who's doing similar or strikingly different things than ourselves.
Try to explain your music a little bit?
Sure, it's partly to just have a wide appeal to like young people. I kind of refer to it as 20th century hardcore music, and that can mean a lot of things. In a sense, it could just be taken as a joke and just a complete scam, but also like the same way that I'll use terms like punk and rave in association with the REALICIDE group. It's a means of reclaiming and redefining the terminology kids throw around to describe the music and arts that they use to express themselves. Aesthetically, it varies a great deal, although a lot of the time it's faster and fairly consistently an attempt to create a hybrid of the hardcore punk rock stuff and the hardcore techno like Gabber and Speedcore. Music really isn't like the first and foremost important thing. Like I'm a little bit more concerned with life. And again, reclaiming punk culture for kids at this point means reprioritizing and getting our priorities back in check, because punk wasn't really supposed to be inherently about music or any one medium specifically. It was supposed to be about a lifestyle, and music is just one of many byproducts of the lifestyle. And the punk lifestyle was supposed to be about claiming identity, about the wet and wild world of satire, I guess a lot of times. It's just a means of saying I'm going to decide for myself how I want to live, what I think's right and wrong way to go about things, like what should be expected of me and what I'm going to follow through with or what I'm going to blow off when people tell me that I should be a certain way. Just have like an independent sense of values and priorities. To me, that's inherently #1 punk culture. So music takes backseat as far as I'm concerned. Although people gravitate towards music, it can be, you know, like how when people used to make songs for who knows how many thousands of years, like, and make them rhyme or just put like stories into song or messages into song, because it helps get people's attention, and it helps you remember something really simple that, you know, you just keep in mind when you're just going about your daily activities. That's one of the primary functions of music, you know, so I guess that's one of the reasons why REALICIDE is largely like a musical project, or something that at least references music if it has like a questionable musicality.
So what's happened to the punk culture as to what it was originally?
Oh, it's basically just pop culture at this point.
How did it get there? I mean,
it got there because people fall short, and humans are just inherently irresponsible creatures. It's the same pitfalls as anything else in humanity. I mean, it's gonna fall prey to like seeking glory, or just thinking maybe I can get a bigger slice than my friend there. In the big picture, that's all it comes down to, like stepping on the faces of your peers to think that you're gonna come out above them somehow. Long story short, then it becomes pop, and it's just a business. And also, the more I think about it and the more I like observe things year by year, it is losing priority. Punk becomes pop shit because people lose track of primarily it's not supposed to be about technique I don't know, academic execution of any sort of music, to the point where, like, to be in a punk band, you're supposed to be a trained musician. I mean, there's something a little bit fucked up there. The intolerance for experimentation is a big factor, and that's why it definitely has become false and pop-oriented. Punk gets fucked up when all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but gradually, it becomes not at all about being yourself. If you're afraid to do something different than your peers because they won't think that you're punk rock, then I'm sorry, but like, it defeats the whole point to begin with. As far as I'm concerned, it's inherently supposed to be about experimentation, not just musically, but experimentation with just your lifestyle as a whole.
That's why you're trying to reclaim punk culture, right? Is to get people to, you know, think for themselves and to live.
Yeah, to establish identity outside of what's expected of them and outside of what you're born into. I mean, I do want to keep it simple and basically just say, oh, it's about being yourself, guys, you know, just be your own person. But what's that really mean? I mean, everybody says that, but what's that mean? It means who exactly are you gonna let tell you what's right and wrong? I mean, everybody's influenced by someone, but who do you want to let yourself be influenced by? Become more aware and more deliberate about who's telling you what to do and whose orders you're following. And don't be tricking yourself and just thinking that you're really living your own life and shit. We're all being pushed around by somebody, but who's going to be doing it and to what extent? Aside from just being your own person, what's that really mean? And are you really looking at yourself honestly, or are you just going through the motions and just saying the old save the world bullshit and just going through the motions, just following a formulaic individuality that really doesn't mean anything at all? I mean, it's just a mold. I'm trying to break the mold. Whatever that's supposed to mean, I guess we'll try to find out.
Why do you consider that, you know, a noteworthy cause? Why do you push your time into doing it and into, you know, trying to reclaim punk culture? Is it just a, you know...
There's not really a lot of choice in the matter besides, I mean, it's either this or just death, you know? And if not physically, I mean, possibly physically, but if not physically, I mean, you might as well be. I mean, if I'm not gonna spend my time trying to hide an awareness and hide in a sense of either control, I mean, I use the word control, I do want to take control over my life, but also I want to find out, make some crucial decisions. Who am I willing to forfeit that control over to? What authority, and I don't just mean within humanity, but what authorities that exist do I want to offer control over my decision making and what's going to shape my present and future? And what parts of my past am I going to choose to let continue affecting me in a positive or negative way? What am I going to let push me around and tell me what to do? If I don't do that, I guess the only other option besides physical death would be to live a life of, like, I run into it unfortunately a lot with my peers is, well, you know, I'll just work in this job for now and I'm just going to go to school for a little bit more and then I'm going to break off and do my own thing. You know, that's what I'm planning on doing. You know, I think someday I'd like to do this. I'd like to get this type of a job, or maybe I'd like to have a family, or, you know, I'd like to travel. I'd like to go someplace besides where I was born and grew up. You know, let me just give me a couple more years and I'll do it. Bullshit. It's not gonna happen. It might happen, but the thing about it, you should just please just tell yourself it's not gonna happen. Don't waste your own time and don't waste my time talking to me about what you'd like to be doing. Don't fucking waste my time with that shit. If I wasn't doing something similar to REALICIDE and focusing on a lifestyle of assertion, hopefully an increased awareness little by little, there's not really a choice. It's either that or do nothing at all. And if all you've got is this physical life for a certain amount of time, undetermined, pretty short amount of time in a lot of cases, like to make the most of it. When we tour this summer and go out west parallel to that, I mean, we're only going to be out there for like about 3 weeks. And it takes a long ass time to get to California or Oregon or anything. So when we're out there, I'm just trying to make sure that we have as much scheduled going on as possible. Meeting up with people, talking to people, making sure that our time's gonna be well spent, because we only got 3 weeks. Think of it that way, it's the same thing. I only got 3 more weeks to live on this earth. What am I gonna do? Just say that, hey, tomorrow I'm gonna take action, and then I'll have only like 2 weeks left. Like, you know, just give me a little bit more time, and you know, then I'll be my own person. Then I'll, you know, I'll take control and speak up for myself and try to get around to letting people know my perspective on things, or try to sit down, shut the fuck up and listen and to find out what the perspective is of someone besides myself for once. Try to actually know somebody. Realicide is supposed to be anti-hypothetical. Do it now or shut the fuck up, you know? There's not really a choice in the matter.
You know, why do you choose, you know, music? You know, why is that your? I mean, I know you guys do other things, but you know, how do you use your music and you know? There's
a lot of different reasons for that. Some, I mean, partly just drawn to music. You like listening to it, makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Partly it's because, you know what the fuck? It's entertaining. It has an immediate association with entertainment media. I don't want to live a life of any sort of illusion crafting or deception, but when it comes down to it, music is a resource for saying like, guys, come in this room for a second. I'm gonna do a song and dance for you. It's gonna be hilarious. Get them in there and they get more than they bargained for, hopefully. It's the kind of band that I'd want to do. You give them more than they bargained for, they pay to be entertained. And maybe they are, if that's what they call entertainment, but maybe they get a little bit more than that and they get something besides what they get from television, or going to see an overpriced movie or something like that, or going to see a super, super expensive band in an arena where every band member is like 300 feet away from each other and they're rocking the hardest, and if they didn't have pyrotechnics and a fat light show, it would be kind of confusing why you were there at all.
My name's Colin, and I guess I feel like in some ways like I've been involved with Realicide since the beginning, because like it was some of the first like live music that I went to see that I was like really excited about, for a lot of the reasons that Robert was talking about the definitions of punk culture and of counterculture and how they kind of get polluted and they like end up meaning the opposite. Like they're just a clique, they're just a club, they're just something like I'm not part of and wouldn't want to be, you know? And then I guess another thing like I've always been concerned with is like doing it yourself. What I represent and what I'm here for is the preservation of culture, you know? Because I feel like that's what they're trying to take away from people on all levels of human society. Food, entertainment, music, it's all going, you know? Like that's what one reason that's like ties me to like the kind of shows that I play and the kind of like artists I'm interested in being around is just an ethic like that. I do a group called Evolve, and that's kind of just a general statement for change, and it certainly doesn't imply like a physical change. It's sort of like a hip-hop project, and that's sort of like, okay, it's good to use a word like that, because if I had a show and I said it was a hip-hop show, more people are liable to come, and I feel like what I'm doing and what I'm saying, like, it represents something and it's like worth seeing, you know? So if I can get people to like accept it, then that's good, you know? We've been working a lot with like cut-ups right now, and what the source material I would use for a cut-up would be a radio or a television, and the intent with that would be like reality reprogramming, because we're really born into this very, very programmed reality, and it's really not about our best interest. It's kind of about like serving these masters, like these kings of the earth, you know? So if you take that, and if I take that tape and I listen to it, it's really like, I feel it really has a profound effect on my consciousness. It's taking the time that I would be allotted, you know, to pay attention to this certain thing, and it's just scrambling it, and like I can see like a new message or a new truth in that abstraction, you know? The music, the beats and stuff, that gives the words and the message. It gives all that power, you know? And sampling is just like a way to like kind of assert power over your reality and just make a consciousness that's more appropriate to exist in.
What would you say is the thing that you're most concerned about, you know, with your music, like doing something with, you know, what is your motivation for the most part, like what's your main, I mean, unless it's real broad, I mean, you can talk.
No, I feel like the earth is dying and it's crying, and I can hear that, so I have to say something. Yeah, I guess it would be very hard for me to continue doing what I'm doing if I didn't get like the appropriate response sometimes and feel like I was changing things. When you think about hip hop, you're not just thinking about music, you're thinking about a whole culture, you know? And I feel like graffiti and stuff like that really demonstrate the power of the individual. I've experimented with that vehicle, and it has a lot to do with the music too. And people have responded to that, and I think that's why, because people want to see the power of the individual, and they want to see that demonstrated and represented, and know that that's true, and that you're not at the will of these crushing forces that would only have you submit.
You know, when kids come to a show thinking that they're going to hear hip hop and they hear you, I don't know, what do you think about that? What would you say to a kid who said, you know,
it's not hip hop?
Yeah.
I would just say, well, what is hip hop? I would ask them that. I guess I would follow that with a question. I don't know.
When you talk about empowerment, it really is. It really is a kind of a negation of the standard system.
Yeah, I mean, I think of it like broadcasting, you know, like the main war is like information, what we're allowed to know and not know, you know?
Right.
Yeah, I think of it like broadcasting. There needs to be more people broadcasting those frequencies of freedom, liberation, empowerment. It's for the people there, but it's also in a universal sense because there's every action has a reaction. When I perform, I don't so much think about the audience or just the people in the room or just myself. I think about it like broadcasting in a very large sense, and there needs to be more people broadcasting frequencies of liberation, of freedom, of empowerment, you know, to keep the human spirit alive, you know, so it does not die and become passive and non-existent.
Yeah, say your name, that you're with REALICIDE.
My name is Jim SWILL. I work with REALICIDE.
Actually, you'll need to do it again and look at me, like when.
Look at you?
Yeah, look at me the whole time.
Okay. My name is Jim SWILL. I work with REALICIDE Youth Recordings, and I work with EVOLVE. The main things I've been incorporating in all these projects is a lot of writing, and a lot of live performances are like various different pieces put together. I call like all of my collective works things like SWILL media, because I feel that the time of our culture right now basically is nothing more than a distribution of SWILL. SWILL being just a collective of all these different elements put together and like fed to the public. Because at this time period, we've kind of reached this cycle back, or in this kind of retro tar pit, where it's like we came so close to this victory over the entertainment industry. They have no other choice but to just claw that all down and control every single facet of the media that you could possibly get a hold of, it seems. They're trying to reincorporate all these elements of past revolutions and like basically commercialize them and dull them down and deaden them and kind of just like drive them into the ground, where these words like revolution and revolt and all these things become meaningless over a while. They're thrown on things like car commercials, and they're thrown on like a McDonald's slogan like a hamburger revolution or something like that. Like these words mean nothing to anyone anymore, and that's why noise music is one of the most important things. It kind of takes that ultra direct element of like saying the same old things like revolt, 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 we got to do this, we got to do that. Noise seems to be a representation of the end times, a representation of this culture, the wordless expression, I guess, that you can't really get from playing melodies or with lyrics or anything of that nature. It's kind of, the music to me almost sounds post-apocalyptic, and it sounded like nothing else to me since I've been introduced to it when I started playing with REALICIDE a few years ago.
Oh, SWILL loves
Yeah, I used to make like Xeroxes that just said like basic things like down with Clear Channel and all that when I was younger, and like paste them up and stuff. I don't know how much good that actually did, because a lot of people aren't even aware when Clear Channel is around. That's what makes Clear Channel so dangerous. It's almost under the boards. It's controlling everything, and everyone's kind of blind to it. Like we have a club around here where a lot of like big name punk bands and a big name rock bands and metal bands and all these things, and a lot of them claiming to be countercultural projects playing in a Clear Channel club. No one's even aware that it's a Clear Channel club. It's just this Ticketmaster distribution and all that. Like I was saying, like every facet of the media and every facet, it's so easy for kids to get a hold of and go to a show at a club like that. They don't know of anything else when you first start doing it. All you know is that, and that's what you're introduced into. You're introduced in kind of like this bad social state, I suppose. It's just somewhere where it has just like lacks originality, it lacks any heart to it. It's kind of just like a forced place for people to play music, I suppose. Well, one of the most wonderful things about noise and electronic music is that is like one of the main elements to punk music to me that has been taken away. Like as Robert was saying, it's almost expected that you have to be a skilled musician, or that you have to have some musical talent to even be considered to be an artist, even a punk rock artist, anything like that. Everyone wants you to live up to these certain standards, and noise and electronic music really breaks that down, and I think kind of scares people sometimes, because people really like to build up their own ego about things and claim that just because they can play this music that they have like a better understanding of it, I suppose. People who are playing a punk rock band like would think that they were a lot more in tune with like what punk was, like as opposed to someone who never even plays it but like is in full support of the culture. Electronic music can be created by anyone. It's so easy. People just don't want to do that. It's not like they want the difficulty or they want to push themselves to like an Olympic degree, like where they want to challenge and they want to overcome that and make themselves better. Yeah, they want to feel better about themselves by putting other people down, and electronic music really breaks that down, because you can just make it on a computer, or you could like buy a piece of hardware, noise music, anything that you want. It's so entirely infinite. It's completely uncommercial because it can't be wrapped up in any bubble. It's almost impossible to, and that's why it's so important in these times that people have to keep on doing noise music, and people have to not be afraid that they're not going to be recognized for the music they do, that you have to be willing to put yourself on the line to just simply be a part of something, as opposed to wanting to be some superstar of the genre. I know a lot of people that we come in contact with are always older than me, and it always seems to be that way, but I think one of the most important things is just kids, because if I was exposed to this music when I was 13 or 12, I'd be completely a different person. I'd be so much farther along than I was. We all usually go through this gauntlet of garbage music, and it takes you so long to realize that it's trash, that it's selfish, and then it's doing nothing but feeding into your selfish lifestyle, I suppose. It's depressing and misery music isn't asking you to change out of depression, it's almost encouraging it. It's because, and they want to encourage that. Even the artists that won't be even depressed themselves, they won't be miserable, they've gotten over these things. They're 34 years old and they're still playing like metal that appeals to little children just because it's depressing and it feeds into this element. People don't want to face up to changing themselves. They want to stay the same all throughout their whole life. People are afraid to change. And that's always been the case. People are just mortified of doing anything different. You really just have to try and reach kids, I suppose. It's all about that. They're the ones that seem to listen. They don't have their minds made up yet. It's still open. They're still a collective source. It seems like when you reach your mid-20s, a lot of people reach this state like, well, I've seen it all. Like, I've been going to shows since I was 15, so I know everything there is to know about any form of music, and I have the right to judge anyone. I have the right to dismiss it, and if I dismiss it, all my friends have to dismiss it too. Kids just seem to be a little more open to like accepting different forms of music, and I think a lot of the things that REALICIDE produces is just this high energy like spasm that kids just need. They need that release. Sometimes it doesn't always have to be about those lyrics. Sometimes it just has to be about this form of release, this form of therapy for these kids. They need to get all these things out, because if you are even slightly aware of what's being conditioned into you or what's being put into you, when you just reach that state of slight awareness, it's just never the same again. It's almost like one hole is torn and then it just keeps tearing wider and wider apart as you get older. That's a hard thing to go through, and people need to identify with other people. You can't just do that alone. That's the one thing about punk culture that always bothered me, is they always I ask you to band together, but they're not asking everyone to band together. They're asking every punk rocker to band together. They would never, it's like children don't know yet, so you're not preaching to the choir yet. And preaching to the choir is just something that we all fall victim to because it's so comfortable and you feel good about what you've done because people say like, wow, great job, I really liked that, as opposed to taking a risk and someone could be like, wow, I really hated that, I hate you, I hate everything that you stand for. People are afraid to take risks, and I think that's one thing about REALICIDE that we are gonna try and keep pushing on people, that you have to live how you want to live, otherwise you're going to be in this cycle of misery that's just going to be never ending. It's just going to keep snowballing on you. And with that fast and high energy, insane music, I think these kids can get a huge release out of it. These kids can really identify with it, and by incorporating my poetry and my writing into this, I feel like I'm also offering something of my artistic work, as well as like offering them to do something as well, to give back to me. So it's kind of an interaction that a lot of bands don't want to do. A lot of bands want to play at you. They don't want to play with you. They don't want to play with a show. That doesn't want to have this whole experience about it. They just want to play for you, and they want you to like watch it, and they don't want you to really think about what they're doing. They just want you to be entertained, I suppose. They want you to be happy with it or be content with it. I think we're just trying to say that you really have to question everything. You have to be really honest with yourself. You can't accept anything of how it is, even if it's your peers, even if it's a crowd that you're in with. There still could be something wrong with it, and usually there always is. You always have to be willing to acknowledge those things and take a step towards them.
How old are you right now, by the way?
I'm 19.